The new AP poll is out, and Illinois debuts at 12. We're going to talk about that and more right after this.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome all to another edition of Locked On Illini. Thank you all so much for making us your first listen each and every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. My name is Sonny Verma, your host here at Locked On, where I continue to provide you coverage daily. That's right, every single day. I ask for nothing in return, except if you don't mind, just hit that like button. Let the algorithms all know that you're watching, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. It's my goal to hit 3,500 subs before we kick off this season, which is going to be in, 2.5 weeks. Football season is right around the corner, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. As I mentioned in the opener, Illinois debuts at number 12 in the AP poll. Take a deep breath. Let's talk context a little bit. Since the Associated Press began preseason polls in 1950, Illinois has only started a season in the top 15 9 times. This year's 12th spot, it's the 9th highest preseason ranking Illinois has ever had. And here's the kicker. It's been 35 years since the Illini started a season this high. 1990, when they were number 11, I believe. In fact, there's been entire decades where Illinois didn't appear in preseason rankings at all. This is Illinois' first appearance in the preseason AP in 17 years. The last time was 2008, which they were at number 20. And that team, well, if you all remember, didn't quite live up to it. They dropped out early, and that's kind of part of the history here, right? Out of the 11 Illini teams that started a season ranked before the year, only 2 finished the year still ranked. So, while the hype is real, so is the caution. Illinois fans have seen this movie before. The question is whether Bret Bielema can make 2025 a different ending. To understand this why this moment feels so big, you have to go back to the peaks of Illinois football. The Rose Bowl bound squads of 1951, 1963, the Big Ten title winners of 1983, 2001. Those are the rare seasons where Illinois started in the top 15 and finished strong. Those years weren't just about talent. They essentially became a part of the program's identity. This number 12 ranking puts Illinois in the same kind of preseason conversation as those legendary teams. And quite honestly, that just doesn't happen often. In the new expanded Big Ten, Illinois is one of 6 teams in the preseason top 25, grouped with the likes of Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon. Again, that's not just bragging rights over old rivals that didn't make the list. It's kind of proof that being mentioned alongside those type of teams, Illinois is kind of making a name for themselves nationally. Nationally, this ranking changes perception. Illinois really isn't a dark horse or a spoiler anymore. They're a team that's expected to win, a program that's arrived when it comes to national conversation. For Bret Bielema, this ranking is a milestone. In just a few seasons, he's taken Illinois from afterthought to contender, something few coaches in school history have ever been able to do. And I haven't even mentioned recruiting. For recruiting, this is huge. High preseason rankings bring more national TV exposure, better ticket sales, and proof to recruits that Illinois is a place where you can win, compete for championships, and develop into NFL talent. For the fan base, this is a cultural moment. After years of droughts, forgettable seasons, coaching turnover, number 12 right now is almost like validation. It's a reminder of what Illinois football can be, but it also comes with a challenge, managing expectations. History shows that preseason rankings don't guarantee postseason glory. This is an opportunity. It's not a finish line. So here we are, number 12 in the country, the highest in 35 years, and one of the most significant preseason moments in all of Illini football history. Will this be another what could have been year, or the start of a new tradition of Illini excellence? I'm going to bring up Cody, my good friend and friend of the show, to kind of discuss the big news of today. Cody, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, man, it's good to be here. Good to talk a little Illini with you. It's been quite a while, and I think I've said on the show a handful of times when you brought me on that, you know, I've mostly been fair weather when it comes to Illinois football, but I can't lie. These last handful of years, they've kept me around a lot longer. And if you want to call that fair weather because I'm around whenever things are going good, that's fine. That's fair to say. But I think it's very much like I think I'm in the majority when people say that a lot with Illini football. But I hope this era of Illini football that we're getting changes that, and it really develops into something that we kind of view as how I feel most people view the basketball team. So this is the most excited I am about Illinois football probably since 2008, actively. Yeah.
See, that's kind of one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on, right? I've been sitting here for the last 25 plus years, and I'll watch a game when we've only won 3 games all season long, right? I'm just a fan of both football and basketball pretty much equally. But, you know, as you said, you've mentioned on the show that you're more of a diehard basketball fan and kind of a casual football watcher. And so I wanted to have you on because now, you know, we had the coaches poll last week where Illinois was also number 12, and now AP poll comes out number 12. As a casual observer, but someone who is interested in Illini athletics, how much does this get you energized and pumped and, you know, all of a sudden want to make plans for Saturdays from here on out to make sure you watch the Illini game just to see how far this team can go?
Well, I do want to give credit to, I guess, the NCAA for expanding the college football playoff. I mean, I never thought I would see Indiana go play in the college football playoff, and they did that last year. And like, I was jealous of Indiana fans for football. Like, I'm just not used to that ever, you know? And so, you know, for most of my life, it's like, okay, Ohio State, Michigan, you know, between those two, they'll play the Big Ten championship game and, you know, whatever, you know, then before the Final Four, I guess you could call it, you know, it all came down to rankings, and then people would debate if these two teams should have played in the national title game and all this stuff, and Alabama won all those titles, right? So a lot of it, for me at least, is like Illinois never had a shot. Illinois never even had an opportunity, and they weren't a good program anyway, to where it was hard for me to even really buy in. Now, Illinois has begun to build a culture, and it begun building expectations to be in a bowl game every year. And now this year, it's like taking another step forward of they're in the top 15 of the preseason coaches poll, and they're getting a lot of hype that they could find themselves in the college football playoff. Realistically, I can realistically say that and think it and have some hope, whether it's delusional or not. The fact that I can do that is a newfound thing for me. And I think that alone could get more people into Illinois football. And I'm sure there are, compared to maybe 5 years ago, but I think to kind of defend myself on why I've always been more of a casual fan with Illinois football, it has a lot to do with that. It's like Illinois has a legitimate opportunity to make some real history this year.
You're exactly right. But with that comes responsibility, right? And a lot of pressure. You know, I was having a conversation with a buddy over the weekend, and we're talking about like a scenario where you take a look at the schedule. I can see Illinois winning 8 games. Now, if you had told me 2 years ago that Illinois was going to win 8 games, I'd be elated. I would be excited. The whole fan base would be ready to build Bret a statue. Yeah. I feel like this year, if Illinois ultimately only won 8 games, they would just be like, you know, like that sort of feeling, like they left something on the table, like that feeling of disappointment. And that's why, you know, my everydayers in here know, all of a sudden I've become a little bit more hesitant on not getting too overhyped and not get too excited. You know, as the stats I mentioned before, there's been plenty of seasons where we started in the top 15 and didn't finish. But if they do falter a bit and win 7 or 8 games, the question is, and I'm not directing this to you, but the version of you that's out there is like, does that keep other people like Cody out there still in tune with the football program? Or is it going to be one of those where if they don't win 10 games, 11 games, make the college football playoff, that immediately that fan base is going to shift their attention back on over to basketball?
I think that it just depends on how it plays out. If they win 8 games, but they beat Ohio State, like what I guess maybe what you're saying is like you're leaving a little bit on the table. It's like, how'd you beat Ohio State, but you lost, against 1 or 2 teams or 3 teams that you should have beat, right? Like,
sure.
Now I don't think that would happen, but no. I'm just saying like how it all plays out, I think it has a lot to do with that. Again, for me, it's nice to be able to have an expectation to go to a bowl game, right? Mm. They beat an SEC school in a bowl game last year, right? Like it's the expectation is rising, and I say this a lot related to the basketball program, related to being a Cubs creator in the summer. Like when you start winning, fans expect more, and then it's on them, and in this case, Illinois, to keep that expectation high. So, yeah, if they win 8 games this year, I think that there will be some fans who probably are kind of left wanting more. But I also feel like most fans, or maybe not even most fans, but fans like me, I don't think it will change much. Fans like me, like if they do great, it's awesome, and you'll be more in tune moving forward. But I think if they win 8 games and go to a bowl game this year, it wouldn't do less for me. It would just, nothing would really change for me. I guess I would just be disappointed considering the hype coming in. But again, I do think context matters, and I do think that there's a lot of things that would have to happen for like people to just really fall off this football program, because I think everyone is a big believer in Bret Bielema right now, and Luke Altmaier might have a statue outside Memorial Stadium one day if he has the season of his life. This year.
All right. Speaking of things that get us hyped, right after this, Cody and I are going to discuss Fletch being a cheat code. We've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for the show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. Ever wonder what your view will look like right before you buy? This app will show you a panoramic seat view, so there are going to be no surprises. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest priced, guaranteed. All right, Cody, let's switch on over to the basketball side for a little bit. Last week, Zvonimir Ivišić posted a picture of him before and after. Now, keep in mind, he's only been here for a summer. So you're talking about a couple months. But, of course, anytime anybody goes into the presence of Adam Fletcher, the Illini strength and conditioning coach, this man does magic with his hands. And he looked like he'd been in some sort of weight program for years. He looks completely improved, completely toned, looks super healthy. And then I think it was just yesterday or the day before, David Mirkovich, who's been on campus for 3 days, posted a picture of him working out with, you see Adam Fletcher there. Man, the questions I ask myself is like, does Adam Fletcher take house calls? Because he continues to be, I say this all the time on the show. I tweet it all the time. Fletch is a cheat code. And he's one of the reasons that I think people just don't discuss. They do now. I feel like his name has come up a lot recently, but when it comes to the past, the amazing work he did with Terrence Shannon Jr. If you recall, when Terrence came in, as a transfer, there's issues about his back and whether he would be able to be playing every single day. I don't think he missed many games due to injury during his time here. A lot of it, he thanks to Fletch. I mean, how's an NBA team not found this guy yet?
Yeah. Remind me, has Fletch been there the entire Brad Underwood era?
Yes.
Yeah. I remember seeing Ayo Dosunmu when he first came in and then looked like the pictures of him his last year at Illinois, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, and Fletch has, who knows, maybe Fletch has something to do with it, even post Illini career. I know Terrence Shannon has come back to Champaign and done some workouts there. Ayo might not be posting about it, but who knows? Maybe he's coming to Champaign and working out with Fletch, even as a professional. The point I'm getting at here is that, yeah, you're right. Adam Fletcher is a cheat code, and who knows what this is going to be for Zvonimir Ivišić. All I know is that guy, Big Z, he is a guy who, the talent is there. He just hasn't been unlocked. And I think Adam Fletcher is helping him get to how Illinois wants to use him, which I think that once they have an understanding of how guys can play together, this and that, like I do think they do a really good job at getting guys in good matchups and taking advantage of opposing defenses. And sometimes the Illinois offense doesn't exactly look aesthetically pleasing to watch, but they do really well at finding good matchups for certain guys. And so I look at Big Z and, how his body has changed in just this summer here. It's not done, like I could see it. We'll see where he's at in November. It's just good to see him in Champaign and like really taking advantage of the resources he has. Not that Arkansas or Kentucky didn't have those resources. It's just
they didn't have Fletch.
Didn't have Fletch. And say what you want to say about Illinois and the lack of tournament success and all this and that. They have become a great developmental program. And that's why they get guys, transfers especially, to want to go there. That's what I genuinely believe. Yeah, money is money, but I'm interested to see what Kylan Boswell looks like after the end of the summer. I've seen him post some pictures on Instagram. He doesn't look the same, in my opinion. It's hard to tell because he's, I don't have a side-by-side picture of him, but like I would love to see what, like, even the difference between Kylan Boswell the last summer compared to this summer. That's why I really like how this basketball program has developed. I think they're really good at developing players.
It's another thing where, just a couple of weeks ago when Tomislav met with the local media, it made the rounds about how Tommy said he came in a little fat and, what kind of advice he'd have for the people that weren't there. He's just like, don't get fat, And so I think, these are conversations. Obviously, we all know that Tommy and Z are very close, that they're, of course, we know that they're brothers, but even last year, there was always shots where, they'd show Tommy watching his brother on TV and whatnot. So, they have a very close relationship. Those two have had that conversation. And Tommy's like, look, I've been here for a year. Fletch is amazing. Just whatever doubts you might have, throw them out. Look, we can both play in the league someday together. I wish I was listening from day one. You have this opportunity. And this improvement in, like I said, it's just been like maybe 3 months. You can tell that Z is taking this opportunity very seriously. And now, if David Mirković does the same, you're talking about when the season starts, I believe, end of October? Potentially Mirković, I don't know how his body's going to change. I know he's a little younger. He looks like he's a bit of a thicker dude. But, Z and Mirković and Ben Hummerkaus, we might actually have a legit battle about who's going to start at the power forward spot at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, well, all these things about Big Z that I'm hoping for, or even just in general of how I feel about him now, to me, it's all about, can he improve defensively? And all the talking heads out here on the internet, online, Twitter, all that, when it comes to talking about Zvonimir, no one thinks this kid can play defense. And I don't necessarily blame them because I don't disagree with them. But a summer in this program, and I do think that, I do think defense, even though the numbers haven't always been great here, especially the last couple of years. I have seen good defensive Illini teams. I have seen them. And so it'll be interesting to see how he develops and how they use him. I don't think, as we sit here right now in August, that Big Z and Big T will be playing together on the court at the same time. And if they do, it will be very short time, like a couple minutes, maybe 5 minutes tops. And that's it. But I think it would be awesome if they could find a way to play them both together, to have that kind of height and the skill set that they both possess. That would be something that I don't think Illini fans will see coming. And I don't see it coming, but who knows? Like that's why the summer for these guys who transfer in is so big,
And that's also one of the reasons that I think a lot of national people forget. We have Orlando Antigua as an assistant coach on this team. Orlando is known for his recruiting prowess. You're right. He's one of the best recruiters in the country, but he's also one of the best big man developers in the country as well. He's developed guys like Kofi Coburn. DeMarcus Cousins was a number 1 pick in the NBA draft, all because of Orlando. And I think, Z had an up and down first year at Kentucky. Yeah, he kind of fell off last year at Arkansas, in particular in the second half of the season, but Orlando wasn't at Arkansas last year, so he wasn't able to work with Big Z. And so Orlando knows these two brothers really well, and I do think that he can, work in tandem with them. If Z wouldn't be on campus if Orlando didn't believe in his talent, because it's not like Zvonimir was a cheap add-on, right? So he cost a pretty penny to bring here, but Orlando obviously sees potential. And I'm with you. I don't really want to see them on the floor too much together. But I like the idea of 40 minutes of Ivišić at all times. Like if Tommy's off the floor, then I want to see Zvonimir on it. But it's just one of those, we'll just have to see how things play out. I still think Zvonimir is going to start opening night at power forward, but I don't know if, a couple weeks in, whether it is David Mirkovic, if it's Ben Humrickhouse, it could have been Ty Rodgers, but who knows how long he's going to be out for. But yeah. I think Brad's going to make a change. I just don't know how soon.
Yeah, it's a good debate to have on like who's going to be the starting power forward. Like we know Tommy's going to be the center, and Kylan's your point guard, and Andrei Stojakovic is one of the wings. And who would be the 2 guard? Who do you think the 2 guard is?
Petrovic.
Oh yeah. Oh, Kylan and Petrovic, yeah, both can. Yeah. I hear it. Yeah.
Cody,
so yeah, it's like it feels like the 4 of the 5 starters are kind of locked in there. Now the battle for that power forward will be interesting. I think Ty Rodgers would have had a good shot at it though if he was healthy.
I have an idea. Let's just shoot from the hip. Let's discuss who we think is going to be starting at power forward right after this. All right. So power forward spot, I agree with you, is probably the one spot in the lineup that I think I'm unsure about. I think Petrovic and Boswell is the backcourt. You got Stojakovic at 3, and you have Tommy at the center. Starting power forward. From what I've been reading, the rumblings seem to be that the staff wants to start with Zvonimir. I don't know how that's going to ultimately work. I like what I see of David Mirkovic. I liked what I saw him, I think it was at the Pan Am Games, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Or the Nike Summit, I think that's what it was this past summer, where we got to watch him and Dami Sarr play together, because at the time they looked like they were both going to be Illini commits. He looked good, but he's only 18, 19 years old. And the Big Ten Conference has shown you that no matter how talented of a big you are, you're going to struggle, and you're going to be in foul trouble. We saw it last year with Morez Johnson. We saw it the year before with Amani Hansberry. You could be talented, but you're going to get, you're not going to get the benefit of the doubt. Let's play this out. What do you think is going to happen at the forward position?
Well, I'm just going to tentatively believe that Ty Rodgers is going to miss half the season.
Sure.
Based off what they're they're not telling us anything, right? As far as I know. So I'm just going to assume Ty Rodgers is not going to be ready for opening night. You make good points about Mirkovic being young, right? And we went through the young up and downs of last year with the freshmen. And then you have Humrickhouse and Big Z. And I mean, I like that they want to give Zvonimir the opportunity. I like it, and it just comes down to how they play defense, honestly. And the tape has shown enough. The guy is not a good defensive player, but how can Illinois change that, or at least hide some of his flaws? How can they do that, or are they just going like full send? We're going to outscore you like they did 2 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, and if that's their mentality going into next season, then I would believe that Zvonimir would actually play more minutes with Big Z or with Tommy, right? And that's the only reason that I think that it would be a thing. And then your options after that. Humrickhouse at least a veteran, but and I do think there's a chance for a jump in year 2 after one full year in the Big Ten. But I think we all know what he is. Like, I think he's a really good 3-point shooter off the bench. And he'll probably give you some hustle points. He'll rebound for you a little bit against certain matchups. Like, I think we've seen enough. I think Brad has seen enough to think that, okay, we have to use this guy in this role. Maybe they misevaluated on anything that anyone ever thought that he could be. It's impressive that he went from NAIA to the Big Ten, undoubtedly, right? He deserves a lot of credit to get to this level. But I think you at least start him in the role that he thrived in the most last year, which I think is coming off the bench outside of a few games as a starter, right? But yeah, unless Ty Rodgers is healthy, I'm kind of with you. I think it will be Zvonimir. I would love to see Mrkovic get an opportunity. It'd be a fun roller coaster to start, I think, but maybe the lights are too bright early,
Yeah. And again, you missed Ty, because if you're starting Zvonimir and Big T together, you can at least kind of make up for that defense by throwing Kylan Boswell and Ty Rodgers, two very aggressive defensive players. But with Ty out, really the only plus defensive player you're talking about is Kylan Boswell, and that's going to put a lot of pressure on him. Ben Humrickhouse is just one of those guys where I agree with you. I think he's in line for a jump forward season. I think he's going to bounce back a little bit, but I think the reasons he didn't perform the way he could have last year was because of the added expectations and the pressures that, guys like Brad Underwood and, he was talked about, as the next Dalton Connect, if you recall, stuff like that. That puts so much pressure on a kid. But then when you spend time with him over the past year, you see him in interviews. I don't know, like, he's not that killer type of personality, and so I feel like that might have kind of been too much for him. Him coming back this year with just lower expectations, come on the floor for 10, 15 minutes, shoot the ball when you're wide open, rebound when you can, just be there on defense in the right spot. I think he can have a bounce back year. But when all of a sudden you put more on his shoulders, you're risking him struggling like he did last season.
Yeah. No, I think you put him in a low pressure situation, and if he takes off, then take advantage. Strike when the iron's hot. But his defense isn't that great either. I think against some of those bigger teams that they'll see in the Big Ten, I'm not thinking that Humrickhouse is going to be having a great game unless he gets hot from three. But yeah, it's the expectations last year were a lot higher. And whether that's because of the talking heads like me and you or Brad Underwood being a massive believer, this and that, they're all better basketball players than me. I got no room to judge. But I think with someone like him, start him in a low pressure situation and go from there. And maybe that would be good for Mrkovic too. I'm interested in how, the versatility of Mrkovic. Like, could he play the three some, can he how versatile can he be? Or is he strictly just, a power forward type, because we know Humrickhouse, he can be a three.
Sure.
But I think Brad and company want to use him more as a power forward,
Yeah. All right, Cody, I think we're running long today. Can you let the folks know once again where they can find your work?
Yeah, so I got a YouTube channel. You can search my name, Cody Del Mindo, or Cody Illini. I think the handle on my YouTube channel is Cody_Illini. Same thing on Twitter. I started a Illini Twitter account a few months back, just specifically for Illini. You might, if you haven't heard of me, but as far as Illini, that's where you can find me. Obviously, most people know me because I'm a huge Cubs creator, but in the winter, I'm doing a lot of Illini content for the love of the game, Sonny, just like you. So yeah, come subscribe, follow, all those good things. Looking forward to a fun fall and winter, man. I don't have to use the football team to get to the basketball season. I feel like we're going to have a lot of fun this fall and winter.
All right, Cody, we'll see you around on Locked On Illini. And that's going to wrap it up for this edition of Locked On Illini. On your way out, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We got so much content coming this week. Until next time, ILL. Love you guys.